President William Ruto has panicked while in Kisii, and this is after he received the news that the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the former Deputy President Gachagua have agreed to work together to make sure Ruto is a one-term president. The two leaders, that is Uhuru Kenyatta and Gachagua, met for the first time for a long time at a funeral service, and during that burial service they shook hands, and later on they had a closed door meeting close to 40 minutes, and here the deal was sealed. The two leaders who did not see each other on the face, the two leaders who at some point hated one another, now they are working together, and I'll give you reasons why. The first reason that shows that the two leaders now are working together, and perhaps they have signed a deal to make sure they have a unified force towards 2027, is the fact that the Jubilee people, the likes of Pauline Njoroge, who is the organizing secretary for the Jubilee Party, has been warming up for Gachagua lately and appearing during the meetings, and even without Fred Matiang'i, she's there in Gachagua meeting. The same thing applies to Jeremiah Kioni, who is now the deputy party leader of Jubilee Party. You know, he was one person who was abusing Gachagua vehemently in the past, but recently he has softened towards Gachagua, and this tells you something, that the Jubilee Party is now working closely with Gachagua, and now they want to make William Ruto a one-term president. This one does not sit so well with President William Ruto. And the news that he has received while in Kisii, I'm very sure it has shocked him greatly. There are many reasons why the two leaders have decided to work together. That is Uhuru Kenyatta and Gachagua. I want to take you back to 2022 campaigns. Before William Ruto was elected the president of Kenya, he had his foot soldiers, and Gachagua was the loudest among them all. When he had the mic, he could abuse vehemently Uhuru Kenyatta, and remember, he used to be his personal assistant, his PA. Therefore, he knew so many things about Uhuru Kenyatta, and that made him have all the points to attack Uhuru Kenyatta while he was the president, of course the outgoing at that point.
Uhuru Kenyatta na Moi mwaka wa 2002. Hakuna kitu alijua. Nilimtoa kwa baa, alikuwa mlevi, nikamuuta, nikamsaidia, nikamfanya akakuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Amerogwa na Raila, amenigeuka, ameniangaisha, amenitafutia makesi ya uongo, ameninyang'anya pesa yangu, amefunga kampuni zangu zote, amefuta watoto yangu kazi, amefunga kampuni ya bibi yangu. Rais, juzi umekuwa Nakuru ukasema ya kwamba Dende Nyoro, Kemani Ichong'wa na Moses Kuria ati watajua wewe ndio rais ya Kenya. Ile mambo umetufanyia Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, tunakuomba tafadhali rais, usiue mimi vile baba yako aliua JM Kariuki.
So many things Gachagua said that were so bad against the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and therefore the two people is like a kind of hatred was constructed, or rather became between. There was a barrier between Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta because of what Gachagua was puking during the electioneering period in 2022. And recently, Gachagua has been calling on Uhuru Kenyatta to forgive him, to help him unify the Mount Kenya region. But Uhuru Kenyatta has given him, deaf ears. But when they met during the funeral service, I think something clicked between them, and now they are working together. Number one, the reason why these people or these two leaders have decided to work together is they have a common enemy. And the common enemy here, of course, is William Ruto, but they have a great hatred towards Kimani Ichung'wa. You know, Kimani Ichung'wa was the one who orchestrated a deal whereby, he put goons and some people who stole Uhuru Kenyatta's sheep from his farm. Kimani Ichung'wah was the mastermind. And Uhuru Kenyatta knows that Kimani Ichung'wah is the one who gave him those huge losses when the huge losses when the sheep was stolen. Yeah. And therefore the hatred between Uhuru Kenyatta and Kimani Ichung'wah is visible. The same case with Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua has a big, or rather a great hatred towards Kimani Ichung'wah, simply because Kimani Ichung'wah was on the front line, making sure that Gachagua is impeached. In fact, he tried to coerce so many people in parliament. Being the majority leader, he tried so much, he tried so much to manipulate many people, many MPs into voting voting for the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. And therefore, Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua have the common enemy, who is Kimani Ichung'wah, and they want to deal with Kimani Ichung'wah both. That is one reason why Uhuru Kenyatta decided to work with Rigathi Gachagua, simply because your enemy, who is also my enemy, is our enemy. Therefore, they tried or they made a decision to work together. Another reason, you remember at some point Uhuru Kenyatta gave out some of his people to work in William Ruto's government. I think it is a point when Ruto wanted to make peace with Uhuru Kenyatta. Now that after the election, the 2022 election, the two people, they were not in good terms. So he gave out some names, that is Mutahi Kagwe, Lee Kinyanjui, William Kabogo, to serve as cabinet secretaries in the administration of William Ruto. So unfortunately, right now, William Ruto does not want anything to do with these cabinet secretaries. In fact, most of the cabinet meetings, he does not involve them, because they know that these people are gonna be the sacrificial lambs. Because if now ODM is going into partnership with the UDA, that means they'll have so many special seats in the cabinet position slots, in parliament. Yeah, and though the people from ODM, I'm very sure they are going to take the positions of the cabinet secretaries held by those who are allies of Uhuru Kenyatta. And another thing, Uhuru Kenyatta has been hitting on William Ruto indirectly. Whenever he gets a chance, he speaks how the administration in Kenya has failed. Though indirectly, of course, because he cannot point out William Ruto. But he knows that Uhuru Kenyatta does not like him. And that is the reason why he doesn't want anything to do with the cabinet secretary. Some reports, in fact, indicated that these cabinet secretaries have even threatened at some point to resign, because they are not regarded as being, or that they are not accorded the kind of honor other cabinet secretaries are accorded. Another thing, William Ruto has threatened to take some of the properties of Uhuru Kenyatta. And of course, some of the properties of Uhuru Kenyatta equally, they were gotten illegally during the era of the Jomo Kenyatta. He was picking what he wanted those times. So now William Ruto wants to take some of the properties, including some of the huge farms around the dairy business farm. And that is why you see Tuju is facing so many tribulations with his dairy business park, simply because that land, or that property, stands on a ground that is surrounded by the Kenyattas. And therefore William Ruto feels if he tries, or rather if he takes the farm of Raphael Tuju through proxies, of course, he will set a foot in the land around Kenyattas. So it will be so easier maybe to, he can cook some cases against the Kenyattas to make sure he has taken the land of Uhuru Kenyatta. And Uhuru Kenyatta knows that. Uhuru Kenyatta knows exactly the plan of William Ruto. He may take the land, as the president, you can get the title deed through, the cabinet secretary for agriculture, the PS. Those are the people. Those are your people. You put them in those positions. So if you tell them, I need the title deed of a certain land, trust me, it will be found within minutes. And therefore, Uhuru Kenyatta knows that if William Ruto takes the land of Raphael Tuju, it will be so easier to expand his tentacles to Kenyatta's farm. And therefore William Ruto now is giving Uhuru Kenyatta a condition. Is either you quit business or I take your land. And that is why Uhuru Kenyatta now wants to team up with the Gachagua so that they can be able to protect their land. And of course, if the opposition takes the presidency, Uhuru Kenyatta and his properties will be on safe hands. And then number last in the list, both Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta hates William Ruto to the core. The fact that William Ruto castrated the removal of Rigathi Gachagua from the seat, the fact that Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto, they are not in good terms. In fact, there is a point when Uhuru Kenyatta, or rather Uhuru Kenyatta's son, was almost arrested. And he was being arrested because William Ruto had given orders. He wanted to bring some tension in Kenyatta family, at least to tell him that he is now the president. Uhuru Kenyatta has never loved Ruto, has never, said that Ruto is his president. At some point Uhuru Kenyatta said that Raila Odinga, he knows that Raila Odinga is his president because he's the one who is supported at that point during the 2022 elections. So William Ruto wanted to make sure Uhuru Kenyatta has gone to his knees to realize that William Ruto is the president of Kenya. But like they say, ukiguza mtoto wangu tunakufa na wewe. The same thing happened to Uhuru Kenyatta. William Ruto touched his son. In fact, he wanted to arrest his son. And that thing, made Uhuru Kenyatta to hate William Ruto vehemently. He hates him with his heart. He hates him with everything. And that is the reason why Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta have decided to work together so that they form a strong opposition team to make sure William Ruto is home. And as always, if the opposition is unified, it will be so easier to take William Ruto home. And that is what they are exactly doing. I don't know what you think. Those are my opinions. You may have your opinions too, but you can give your opinions in the comment section. We will have a debate there. Perhaps it will form a basis of what we'll analyze in the next video. Equally, if you are new here, consider subscribing, liking and sharing our content, and hit the notification bells. Turn it on so that you can be receiving notifications each and every time we bring you a new content.